Hi, my name is Chris Parkinson. Welcome to VIDA Fitness's online Vinyasa yoga class. And we're going to start in a comfortable seated position today, either seated like I am in Sukhasana, or sitting on your knees, or laying on your back if that feels more comfortable. If it's okay with you, just close your eyes. Make your spine nice and tall. Really root down through your sits bones, and lift your collarbones and the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. You should feel a nice ab engagement in front, right, as well as working towards extension in your spine. And I want you to start breathing slow, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And don't worry about the depth of the breath. Try to make the breathing slow and consistent, slower than you normally would. And this is a half-hour yoga class. We're going to go for pretty much the whole half hour. And you'll be taking Shavasana on your own at the end. And bring your hands together at heart center so that your palms touch and your thumbs come to your sternum. And set an intention for your practice. Remember, an intention could be something as simple as world peace. It could be something as complicated as the relationship with your loved ones. Remember to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth really slowly the entire class. Well, if you'd like to practice Ujjayi pranayama, that's just a fancy name for breathing in and out of your nose. You can start that now. And when you're ready, blink your eyes open and come into a tabletop position on your mat. Spread your fingers nice and wide, root down through your entire palm. And take an inhale and glance up towards the sky and arch your back a little bit. As you exhale, round your spine, look at your belly button a little bit. And do this on your own, moving between cow and exhaling into cat. Now, we're not playing any music today, so if you feel like listening to some music, go ahead and open up your iTunes or your Spotify and play some music in the background while you watch the class. One more round of cat and cow. And then come back to a neutral spine. That's somewhere in between, right, the cat and the cow. And without shifting your weight into one hand or one leg all that much, see if you can reach all the way out in front of you with your right arm and all the way back with your left arm, left leg. Right, really reach through the hand here, really reach through the leg. Right, then maybe lift the arm and the leg up towards the sky. But try not to arch your back to compensate. Right, take an inhale here. When you exhale, place your hand, your knee down on the ground. And same thing on the opposite side. Reach the left arm all the way out in front. Reach the right leg straight back behind you. And keep your head and neck in line with your spine here. Really firm your abdominals. Really reach through the fingertips and reach through the heel. And then lift the arm and the leg without arching your back and losing the abdominal engagement in front. And take an inhale here. When you exhale, place your hand, your knee down on the ground. Walk your hands about 3 inches in front of you. Tuck your toes underneath you behind you. And then press up and back to downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, your feet are about hip distance apart. And think about the bones of your pelvis, right? Those two knobby protuberances, right? Instead of the outsides of your hips here. And then what you want to do, right, if your spine isn't completely long, well, you can lengthen your down dog here. Right? So that your spine almost works into what we call extension, right? Almost a back bend here. I'm going to take a deep, slow inhale through your nose and then an audible exhale out through your mouth. Take an inhale and bring your right leg up into the air behind you. When you exhale, bring your right knee over toward your left elbow. Inhale, reach the right leg back up towards the sky. When you exhale, bring your knee towards your nose. Inhale, reach the right leg up towards the sky. When you exhale, bring right knee over towards right elbow. Inhale, reach the right leg up towards the sky. When you exhale, step the right foot up between your hands. Next inhale, step the left foot up between your hands. Come to halfway lift. When you exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees, reach towards the floor. Next inhale, reach your arms up over your head. Bring the palms together above your face. And when you exhale, dive your hands back down to the ground. Bend your knees, reach for the floor. Next inhale, bring your hands to your shins. Halfway lift. When you exhale, plant your hands. Step your left leg back behind you. Release your left knee. Release your left toes. Take an inhale, bring your arms up towards the sky. When you exhale, bring your hands back down to the ground. Press back to down dog. Press your chest towards your thighs and your heels towards the earth. Inhale, come out to a plank. Exhale, lower all the way down. Release your toes. Inhale, press your chest up just slightly. Exhale, bring your chin back down. Inhale, press to a plank. Exhale, press back to downward facing dog. Take 4 breaths here in down dog. Once again, maybe pedaling out your feet. Right? If you feel you need a stretch for your calf muscles. Right? Keep your spine nice and long here. Keep firming your abdominals. Next, inhale, reach your left leg up into the air behind you. And when you exhale, bring left knee over towards right elbow. Next, inhale, reach the left leg up towards the sky. Exhale, bring knee to nose. Inhale, left leg up towards the sky. Exhale, left knee, left elbow. Next, inhale, reach the left leg up towards the sky. Exhale, step the left foot up between your hands. Next, inhale, step the right foot up between your hands. Halfway lift, extend your spine. Exhale, forward fold, let your head and neck be heavy. Inhale as you reach your arms up over your head, palms come together above your face. When you exhale, dive your hands down to the ground, bend your knees, let your head and neck get heavy. Next, inhale, bring your hands to your shins, halfway lift. When you exhale, place your hands on the ground, step your right leg back behind you. Release the right knee, release the right toes. Inhale, arms up towards the sky. Exhale as the hands come back to the ground, press back to down dog, chest towards thighs, heels towards the earth. Inhale, come out to a plank. Exhale, lower all the way down. Release your toes. Inhale, press your chest up, keep your hips down. Exhale, chin back to the ground, tuck toes under. Inhale, press to plank. Exhale, press back to downward facing dog. Now, anytime during the class, and if it gets too intense, you just release your knees to the ground. Toes come together, and you come into a child's pose and rest your head on the floor. Right, all these poses are designed to bring a knee or a forearm or a hand down to the ground. And the whole idea of yoga is to move mindfully, not to overwhelm your body or your senses. And there's plenty of that in the real world, in the wider world. And the whole point of yoga is to see if we can slow our minds, what we call chitta vritta nirodha, or slowing the movements of the mind stuff. And that only works if you breathe slowly in each posture. Holding your breath or huffing and puffing is going to trigger a part of your central nervous system, right, called the sympathetic nervous system. That's the flight or fright response. And when that happens, right, your body will seize up. It'll fill with adrenaline. Right? And when that happens, right, you won't be relaxed at all. You'll be rigid. Right, on your next inhale, look up between your hands and step walk or quietly float to the top of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Bring your big toes to touch. Take an inhale, sit down to chair pose. When you exhale, stand tall. Bring your hands down by your sides. Next inhale, sit down to chair pose. Bend the knees. Exhale, forward fold. Head and neck get heavy. Inhale, halfway lift. Bring hands to shins. Lengthen your spine. When you exhale, plant your hands. Step or float back to a plank or chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to down dog. Next, inhale, reach your right leg up into the air behind you. When you exhale, step your right foot up between your hands. Spin your left heel to the ground. Inhale, bring your arms up to warrior one. Exhale as your hands go back down to the ground. Step back to a plank, lower halfway or all the way. Inhale into a back bend, up dog or cobra. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to down dog. Next, inhale, bring your left leg up into the air behind you. And when you exhale, step your left foot up between your hands. Spin your right heel down. Inhale, bring the arms up towards the sky. Exhale as the hands go back to the mat. Step back to plank, lower halfway or all the way. Inhale into back bend. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to downward facing dog. Take 5 breaths in downward facing dog. And if you need to, you drop down onto your knees, come into a child's pose. 4 breaths. Three. 2. All right. One more of those sun salutations to make sure we're warm. Take an inhale, look up between your hands, and over that inhale, step or float to the top of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Big toes touch. Inhale, sit down to chair pose. Reach your arms up towards the sky. Weights in the heels, not the knees. Exhale, stand tall, hands down by your sides. Inhale, sit down to chair pose. Squeeze your inner thighs together here. Exhale, forward fold. Your hands touch the floor, your knees stay bent. Inhale, halfway lift. Bring hands to shins, look forwards. Exhale as you step or float back to plank or chaturanga. Lower halfway, all the way, or knees, chest, chin. Inhale into up dog or cobra. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to down dog. Next inhale, reach your right leg up into the air. When you exhale, step your right foot up between your hands. Spin the left heel down. Inhale, bring the arms up towards the sky. Exhale as the hands go back to your mat. Step back to plank, lower halfway, all the way, or knees, chest, chin. Inhale into back bend, up dog or cobra. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to down dog. Next inhale, reach your left leg up into the air behind you. When you exhale, step the left foot up between your hands. Spin the right heel down. Inhale, bring the arms up over your head. Exhale as your hands go back to the mat. Step back to plank, lower halfway, all the way, or knees, chest, chin. Inhale into back bend, up dog or cobra. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to downward facing dog. Breathe. Take a deep inhale through your nose, and then audible exhale out through your mouth. Next inhale, reach your right leg up into the air behind you. When you exhale, step your right foot up between your hands. Spin the left heel to the ground. Pause here. Look forward. Right? Notice your right heel and left heel line up here. And then you're going to come up to warrior two. Breathe free. Right? And warrior two. Right arm is out in front, left arm is behind. You're going to gaze out past your right middle finger here. And walk the right foot far enough forward so you feel the stretch to the inside of your left thigh. Right, shoulders are soft. Right? Warrior's a strong pose. Right? So you're supposed to feel a little bit of strength here, a little bit of power. You're not rigid. Right? There's softness in this strength. And then flip your right palm up towards the sky. Reverse your warrior. Reach up towards the ceiling. Maybe look back at your left leg. Think about reaching upwards more than leaning backwards. In other words, try to lengthen the right side of your body without rounding too much on the left side of your body. If you want a little deeper stretch, you bend the right knee instead of leaning backwards more. And then you notice every time you inhale, some of the muscles on the right side of your body expand and stretch. And every time you exhale, you feel firmness throughout your entire body. Come back to warrior two. And straighten your front leg. Toe heel your back foot up once towards the top of your mat. Squeeze both thighs inwards towards one another. Shift your hips backwards. Reach forwards. Now, before you go any further, try to keep the right side of your body as long as possible. In other words, instead of rounding your spine to reach your hand down inside your right foot, hinge from your hip. When you can't go any further, then bring the right hand down and reach the left hand up. Right, notice I keep trying to lengthen through the crown of my head forwards here instead of rounding my spine this way. And I keep reaching backwards through the hips here, and then we get a stretch to the entire hamstring. Gaze up at your left hand here and breathe slowly. 4 more breaths. And you could use the inside of that right hand, the outside of that right hand, to press into the right shin if you want to get a little bit extra twist here. All right, grab a hook in the sky, come all the way up. Pivot your right foot to face the left side of your mat. Take an inhale, bring your arms up over your head. When you exhale, dive your hands down to the ground. Come into a forward fold. In your forward fold, you're going to reach your right hand across your body, grab your left ankle. Place the left hand on top of the right wrist, and then look at your right big toe and start to pull your right shoulder towards your right big toe while your head gets heavy. You should feel a nice deep stretch from the middle of your spine to the outside of your right shoulder. You'll also notice if you breathe slowly like you're filling up a glass of water, all the way down into your belly first and then up into your chest, that your stretch gets deeper, right? Just simply by breathing. Bring both hands back down to the ground. Then bring both hands to your hips. Lengthen your spine. Pause here for a second. Right, try to reach through the crown of your head. Try to firm your abdominals. A little bit of back bend. Right, so just a little bit of core work here before you go any further. And then come all the way up. And pivot your right foot to face the top of your mat. Bend your right knee. And then bring your right forearm onto your right thigh. Reach your left arm all the way out over your head. Gaze up at your left palm here. All right, now, what I want you to think about doing here is keeping the right knee stable right above the right ankle. If it feels okay, you can reach down towards the earth inside your right leg with your right hand. But here's the thing. Instead of reaching this way with your spine to get your hand down towards the ground, bend your knee and get your hand to the ground, and then reach the left arm out over your head. Right? If it feels okay, wrap the left arm around your lower back. Right? Gaze back past your left shoulder. Right? Keep trying to get your right leg to go outwards. In other words, don't let your right knee dive inwards. Keep it pressing to the outside. Right? Try not to use your right hand to help your right leg. Let your right leg do the work. Right? Come all the way back up to Warrior Two. Flip your right palm, reverse your warrior, take an inhale. When you exhale, cartwheel your hands down to frame your right foot. Release your back knee, release your back toes. Take an inhale, bring your arms up towards the sky. When you exhale, bring your hands down to the ground. Press back to down dog, chest towards thighs, heels towards the earth. Inhale, come out to a plank. Exhale, lower halfway or all the way down. Inhale into back bend, up dog or cobra. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to downward facing dog. Release down onto your knees. Come into a tabletop position. You might notice, right, I've done both. Lower all the way down to the ground, knees, chest, chin, and chaturanga during our vinyasas. Up to you which one you want to do in the rest of the class. Gonna reach your left leg straight back behind you. Spin your left heel to the ground. I want you to kickstand your right foot underneath you and reach your left hand up towards the sky. And this is a side plank here, a supported side plank. Gaze up at your left hand and have faith that your right hand isn't gonna move. You're going to reach your left leg up into the air. Then I want you to bend your left knee and reach back with your left hand for your left foot. Try to keep the left heel in line with your left butt cheek, and then gaze back up towards the sky. Instead of arching your back here, try to get the left hip to extend by using the left butt cheek and the left hamstring. The idea is to stretch our hip flexor muscles, and they connect at the base of the spine, go to the inside of the left thigh. And if you let your back arch, all you're really going to do is stretch your abdominal muscles. And what we're going for here is the hip flexor muscles, not the abdominal muscles. And release your back foot. Bring hand and foot down to the ground. Come back to a tabletop position. Step back to plank. Lower all the way down to the ground. When you get there, bring your arms long by your sides. Keep looking down at the top of your mat. And then lift everything up into the air. Arms, legs, heads, and chest. There's a little bit of a tuck to your pelvis here. You're trying to lengthen your spine and your collarbones forwards, reaching your legs straight backwards. Right? Instead of lifting everything upwards, think about length, right? Forwards and backwards. 3 more breaths here. 2. Deep inhale. Exhale, bring everything down to the ground. Tuck your toes underneath you, behind you. Right? Press into a tabletop position. Press all the way back to down dog. Arms out in front of you, feet are together behind you. Right, come down into a child's pose, right, if you need a little bit of a break. Right, now, in the interest of videography and entertainment, right, I'm going to step to the opposite side of my mat, and we'll continue the class on the left side. Right, so, from downward facing dog, reach your left leg up into the air behind you. Right, and step your left foot up between your hands. Come into a low runner's lunge. Right, spin your right heel down to the ground. Come up to Warrior Two. Right, from Warrior Two, once again, walk the left leg forward until you find a stretch on the inside of your right thigh. Look back at your right foot, and your right big toe is pointed slightly towards the upper right-hand corner of your mat. And the outside of the right foot is almost parallel to the back of your mat. Again, you're looking at your left knee, not letting it dive in or dive out, keeping it strong right above the left ankle. Flip the left palm up towards the sky. Reverse your warrior, reach up towards the ceiling. And this time, maybe look up at the left hand. But if last time you looked back at the foot, then look back at the right leg. Right? Moderate this right, by bending the left knee if you want a deeper stretch, instead of rounding the right side of your rib cage. Right? Try to find stillness in each posture. Right? That's where you can find both strength and softness, what we call sthira and sukha. And come back to Warrior Two. Straighten your front leg. Toe heel your back foot up once towards the top of your mat. Shift your hips backwards. Reach. Try to hinge from the hip. Now, when we hinge from the hip, we get better stretch in the hamstring. Remember, the hamstring crosses both the hip joint and the knee joint. So the more we can hinge from the hip, the more we stretch the hamstring. More we round the spine, all we do is crunch together vertebra. Right? So left hand's gonna come inside left leg, right arm goes up towards the sky, and gaze up at your right palm here. Right? Think about pulling the left side of your body past your left thigh without losing the pressure in your left big toe. Right? Try not to roll to the outside of your left foot here. And 3 more breaths. Grab a hook in the sky, come all the way up, pivot the left foot to face the right side of the room. Big inhale as the arms go up over your head. Exhale as you dive your hands down to the ground. This time, reach across your body with your left hand, grab your right ankle, and place your right hand on top of your left wrist. Look at your left big toe, and start to pull your left shoulder towards your left big toe without releasing your left hand from your right ankle. And finally, make sure your head is heavy here. A little stretch in this posture goes an awful long way. And if you don't feel too much of a stretch in this posture, well, that's good. That means your back muscles are fully stretched out. You don't need to go any further. And bring both hands back down to the ground in front of you. Lengthen your spine, right? Try to find back extension. And that posture we just did when we were laying on our bellies and we were lifting everything up towards the sky. Same thing here with your upper back. Abs firm, chest lifted, reaching through the crown of your head. Not leaning backwards into the hamstring muscles here. Core is doing all the work. Legs are providing the stability. Both hands to your hips as you come all the way up. Pivot the left foot to face the top of your mat. Bend the left knee, reach the right arm out over your head this time. Right, gaze up at the right palm. Wow. If it feels like you're leaning into the left knee too much, take a little step backwards. And then a variation you did on the other side. Remember, if you're going to reach that left hand down to the ground, you're going to bend your left knee. You're going to lengthen your stride here, and then look up at the right hand. Maybe wrap the right arm around your lower back. Coming back in. Don't let the fact that you have that right arm wrapped around your lower back make your left knee dive inwards. Keep the left hand inside the left foot. Use the outside of the left ass cheek to keep you in this position. And breathe for 3 more breaths. Trying to find stability and softness. Yeah, and then come all the way back up. Reverse your warrior, take an inhale. When you exhale, cartwheel your hands down to the ground. Release your back knee, release your back toes. Inhale, bring your arms up towards the sky. Exhale as your hands come to the ground. Press back to down dog. Inhale, come out to a plank. Exhale, lower halfway, all the way, or knees, chest, chin. Inhale into back bend, up dog or cobra. Exhale as you tuck toes and go back to downward facing dog. Release down onto your knees, tabletop position. Extend your right leg straight back behind you. Spin your right heel to the ground. Reach your right hand up towards the sky. You're going to reach the right leg up into the air, and then bend the right knee. Reach back for the right foot, and try to get the heel and the right butt cheek to line up here. Remember to use the hamstring and the glute muscles here to help extend the right hip instead of arching your back. Don't collapse into the left hand. Keep that left arm super stable. And then release the back foot. Reach the right arm up towards the sky. Bring the right hand and right knee to the ground. Step back to a plank. Lower all the way down. Release your arms long by your sides. Lift everything up into the air. Stay right here for 5 breaths. Make sure you're lifting arms using arm muscles. Make sure you're lifting legs using leg muscles. If it feels okay, bend your knees, reach back for your feet, and you can take bow pose here. 3 more breaths. 2. Deep inhale here. Exhale, lower everything to the ground. Press into a tabletop position. All right, press back to downward facing dog, or release down onto your knees and take child's pose. All right, from here, everybody release down onto your knees. Bring your knees together. Bring your feet wider than your hips. And some of you at home may use a blanket or a pillow for this and put it underneath your butt. Sit your butt back in between your heels here. And then, all right, you're going to bring your arms all the way out to the side like an airplane. Bring your right arm across underneath your chin. Bring the left arm underneath that. Once again, stretching the outside of the right shoulder. And if you'd like, though, bend the elbows, reach the palms together. Keep the elbows up at about shoulder height, the hands away from your face. And if you want a little bit extra, you round your spine slightly. The upper back, not the lower back, to increase the stretch on the outside of the right shoulder. And bringing your elbows down toward your breastbone instead of your belly here. The slower you breathe, right, the deeper the stretch you get in between the shoulder blades and your upper back. And then bring your arms back up. Bring your hands down by your sides. Walk your hands behind you. Palms to the ground. And let your head fall back between your shoulders. And this is simply a stretch for the forearms and the bicep muscles here. Press the palms down into the ground. Keep the knees on the ground. If it feels okay for you, you could walk all the way onto your back here. And then come all the way back forward and up. Move your arms out like an airplane one more time. Bring the left arm underneath your chin. Bring the right arm underneath the left elbow. And you're going to bend the elbows here and reach for the palms of your hands. Sometimes it gets hard to reach them, and you got to shimmy it around a little bit. Elbows come up, and then you're going to draw the elbows once again towards the breastbone. Try not to shrug your shoulders. Keep the shoulders nice and loose here. And actually, the more you draw the elbows away from one another and towards one another, the deeper you stretch you get in your back, and the more you use your chest muscles here. And then bring the arms back up. Bring your hands to the floor in front of you and come into a tabletop position. And from your tabletop position, tuck your toes underneath you behind you, press up and back to downward facing dog. And reach your right leg up into the air behind you. And bring your right knee over towards your right elbow and your right foot towards your left hand. Lay the outside of the calf muscle on the ground instead of the shin bone. And then if your butt is up in the air like mine is, you're going to put a block or a blanket underneath it. This is called a, half pigeon. And then you walk your arms forwards. Right, now, if half pigeon is too hard on your knees, what you do is sit down onto your butt, bring your left leg out in front of you, cross the right ankle over the left knee, lower down onto your back, and take a figure 4. Remember breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your nose, as slow as you can. And then if you're in that figure 4, you bring your left foot to the ground. All right, you're going to unwind your legs and sit all the way up. And if you're in a half pigeon, you're going to bring your hands up towards your hips, tuck your back toes under, and press back to down dog. Reach your left leg up into the air behind you. And then you can bring left knee over towards left elbow, left foot towards right wrist. All right, walk your hands forward. Make sure you're on the calf muscle, not the shin bone. Right? And your head and neck get heavy here. And forehead touches the floor. Right? Think about every time you exhale, right? Letting go. Of not just the inhale, but anything that you're thinking about. When we have thoughts that are associated with emotions and associated with experiences, we create stories around them. And these stories ultimately lead to what yogis call suffering or stress. Right? That is, the experience itself is one thing, and the emotion we feel behind it is that same thing. The more we create a story around that emotion, around that experience, the more we attach ourselves to it, the more likely we are, if it's a good experience, to seek it out in the future. If it's a bad experience, the more we'll look out in the future to not repeat the same thing. This is perfectly natural, but one of the problems is that we do this enough, well, then all of a sudden, right before we know it, we're always reaching out for experiences to make us feel like we did in the past, or trying to avoid experiences that we've had in the past. And in a great way, what we're doing is living in the past. And we're not actually experiencing anything in the present, because we're always trying to relive an emotion or an experience instead of have new ones. Walk your hands straight back up toward your hips. Tuck your back toes under. Press back to downward facing dog. Then release down onto your knees. Cross your legs behind you. Sit down onto your butt. Extend your legs out in front of you. You're going to lower down onto your backs. One more quick posture before you go to Shavasana. Pull your right knee in toward your chest. And then pull that right leg across your body. Reach your right arm out like an airplane. And gaze past your right hand. Maybe close your eyes. I don't need to pull on the knee at all. You just need to breathe slow. And keep your abs a little bit firm, and that will help stretch your lower back. Bring the right knee back up. Extend the right leg. Bring the left knee in toward your chest. And pull the left knee across your body. All right, look out past your left shoulder. All right, try not to let the left knee go past the left hip. Bring the left knee back up. Bring both knees into your chest and give yourself a squeeze. Now, release your arms and your legs out in front of you and come into Shavasana. Let everything be heavy. Feel free to stay in Shavasana as long as you like. I'll be back with a restorative yoga class that you can pair with this Vinyasa class. In other words, you can take this Vinyasa class for half an hour and then take the restorative class for half an hour and get a full hour worth of yoga. I hope everybody's staying safe, and I'll look forward to seeing you after this is all over. Take care.